Everybody keeps saying, post more, stay consistent, go viral. Cool. Then explain this. Why are founders get it 20,000 views, 50,000 views, sometimes even 100,000 views, and still generating zero qualified clients? Because views don't pay invoices. Followers don't pay payroll. Attention alone does not build the business. And here's the truth that you need to hear today. Most founders don't have a content problem. They have a conversion architecture problem. So in this video, I am going to show you the 3 content lies keeping founder stuck. The exact authority system I use to turn content into conversions. And the one shift that made content start generating inbound opportunities consistently. Let's get into it. Part number 1, the reframe. There are 3 beliefs founders have around content. They sound smart, they sound reasonable, and honestly, they're quietly killing your pipeline. Belief number 1, consistency is the strategy. Look, consistency matters, but consistency without positioning, that's just posting random thoughts repeatedly. And I see founders every day. Monday motivation, Tuesday business lesson, Wednesday coffee photo, Thursday code, Friday random selfie. Then 6 months later, they wonder, why is it content really working? Because consistency amplifies clarity. It doesn't create it. Now you need to remember founder positioning. Visibility without positioning is just noise. Authority comes from specificity, and you need to know, who are you? Who do you help? Why should anyone care? Because if people can't recognize you, they won't remember you. Belief number 2, virality is the goal. That is dangerous, extremely dangerous, because virality optimizes for attention, not opportunities. I've seen people hit 100,000 views, then get DMs from random people, random followers, spam accounts, everyone except buyers. You don't need everyone. You need the right people. Not all followers are equal. We optimize for opportunities. This is not for vanity, because one founder client is worth more than 100,000 views. Belief number 3, great content sells itself. No, great content creates attention. Systems create sales. That is a huge difference, because if content alone sold, every motivational page would be printing money. They're not. Content without a system or strategy in place becomes random acts of marketing, and random, as you know, doesn't scale. Part number 2, the thing nobody wants to say. Here's the reality nobody wants to say out loud. We are entering an era where views don't matter anymore, at least not by themselves. Because if 500,000 people watch your content and none of them become clients, what exactly did you build? An audience or just a digital applause? We got conditioned to celebrate views, celebrate followers, celebrate likes, celebrate screenshots. But your business doesn't run on engagement screenshots. Your business runs on revenue, on conversations, on qualified opportunities, on people actually raising their hand and say, how do I work with you? Because a founder with 3,000 followers and 15 inbound conversations every month is beating the creator with 300,000 of followers and getting dopamine and 0 clients. Attention without conversion becomes expensive entertainment. Views become valuable only when they create trust. Trust creates conversations, and conversations create clients. And of course, clients build companies. That is the game now. Not visibility, it's conversion. Part number 3, the real system. Here's the exact question I asked before creating content. Who is this for? And what belief needs to change after they consume it? And it's not about what should I post? That's amateur thinking. Instead, what psychological shift needs to happen? Because content isn't information, it's belief engineering. That's what I teach founders in personal branding. It's authority angles. Because authority isn't hoped for. Authority is designed. Most people sound identical online. Another entrepreneur, another coach, another founder. But people remember angles. People remember identity. Some of the examples are the founder building without ads, the CEO documenting their mistakes publicly, the operator obsessed with systems. Now, people understand you because clarity creates trust. Part 4. Why your content gets views but no clients? Quick test. Answer these honestly. Can you look at your last 10 posts and tell me which one generated a qualified conversation? Which topic brought buyers? Which content format drove DMs? Which CTA converted? Or are you just posting and hoping something clicks? Because here's what I've realized after spending years and years working with founders. Most people aren't creating a content strategy. They're creating isolated content. One reel today, one carousel tomorrow, one trend next week. And every piece lives by itself. There's no connection. There's no sequence. No momentum. Now, here is the problem. Clients rarely make decisions from one post. Almost nobody watches one reel and suddenly says, "Yep, that's it. Take my credit card, I'll buy from you." People buy differently. They consume, observe, watch silently, compare, build familiarity, build trust, build certainty, and then eventually they act. Which means content isn't a one-time event. It's a series of trust deposits. And this is where founders get stuck. They expect one piece of content to create a sale, when content was only supposed to do one job: move someone one step forward. Maybe one piece creates awareness. Wait, I think I have that problem. And another one creates identification. That sounds exactly like me. Another creates trust. Okay, this person actually understands me. Another one creates proof. Other people are getting results from this. Then eventually, how do I work with them? See the difference? Most founders are trying to close on touch point number 1. Meanwhile, buyers are still on touch point number 3. You're asking for commitment before creating certainty. That's why content feels inconsistent, because you're judging posts individually when content actually works collectively. Your content should operate less like random social media posts and more like a Netflix series. Every episode should make people want the next one. Because when content creates momentum, buyers eventually create movement. And that's where content starts turning into clients. Part 5. The content engine. This is where everything changed. Because I stopped asking, what should I post today? And started asking, what system creates content automatically? Huge difference. Because most founders treat content like a daily creative task. And that's exactly why they burn out. Every morning becomes, what do I say? Should I make a reel? Should I post a carousel? Should I talk about mindset? Should I educate? And by the time you decide, half of your energy is gone. Not because content is hard, because decision fatigue is expensive. Your founders who scale content aren't more creative. They are more structured. They remove decisions. They remove guessing. They remove friction. Because operators understand something creators usually don't. You don't rise to motivation. You fall back on systems. Now, here's the shift. Stop asking, what should I post? Start asking, what role does this content need to play? Because not every piece of content should do the same thing. Different content formats solved different problems. Reels create reach. Carousels create depth. Stories create trust. Case studies create certainty. Founder stories create emotional connection. Different assets, different jobs, same machine. Because I've been seeing lots of founders do the same mistake. They're creating content from memory, not research, not data, not patterns, memory. They sit down and trying to force ideas out of their head. But great creators don't wait for inspiration. They build inputs. They save screenshots, save hooks, save story ideas, save objections, save questions, save patterns, build swipe files. Because the best content rarely comes from sharing on a blank page. It comes from collecting proof over time. The best founders that I know don't sit down and wonder what to say. They already have libraries filled with hooks, ideas, stories, lessons, pain points, client questions, buyer objections, case studies. Because content becomes easier when you're not creating from zero. And then the final shift. Stop creating content every single day. Start building a content operating system. Create content calendars, batch recording sessions, build workflows, remove unnecessary decisions. Because systems create consistency. Consistency creates familiarity. Familiarity creates trust, and trust creates conversations. And eventually, those conversations become clients. And that's when content stops feeling like work and starts feeling like leverage. Part 6. The client machine. Now, here's where most founders accidentally break the system. Because even after building great content, they stop too early. They post, close the app, then disappear. And they think, cool, I posted today. No. Posting is not the finish line. Posting is the starting line. Because content itself does not create clients. Conversations create clients. And this is where things get interesting. Most founders treat engagement like a vanity metric. Comments, replies, story reactions, DMs, notifications. They think, nice, engagement is up. But operators see something different. They see signals. Because every interaction tells you something. Every comment reveals interest. Every DM reveals intent. Every question reveals function. Every objection reveals friction. And friction is gold because friction tells you exactly what content to make next. And you need to take note of this. They spend 95% of their energy trying to create content, but only 5% building relationships around it. Meanwhile, conversations are where the money usually lives. Think about your own buying behavior. You rarely buy because of one post. You buy because you've seen someone repeatedly, a reel, a story, a carousel, a comment, a DM. Little moments stack together until eventually trust becomes certainty, and certainty creates action. This is why speed matters too, because warm conversations outform cold outreach all day. If someone replies to your story, reacts, comment, sends a DM, that's not random. That's raise hands. That's intent. Most founders miss this all the time. They wait days to respond. They overthink what to say. Or worse, they never reply at all. Meanwhile, someone else moves faster. Simple wins. A DM doesn't need to feel robotic. It doesn't need, hey, thank you for engaging with my content. I noticed that. Talk like a human. Hey, I appreciate you for reaching out. I appreciate the follow. Just curious about what you do. What's your industry? That's it. Because the goal isn't closing immediately. The goal is opening a conversation. Huge difference. And then here's where things start compounding. Conversations create insights. Insights create content. Content creates more opportunities. Now you have a loop. Someone asks a question, make content. Someone has an objection, make content. Someone shares a frustration, make content. Eventually, you stop guessing what your audience wants because they start telling that to you. And once that happens, content starts creating clients almost by itself. Part number 7, the Moneyball moment. You've heard Moneyball, right? Everybody in baseball was optimizing the obvious stuff. Home runs, big flashy numbers. And then someone came and asked, what if we're measuring the wrong things? That one question changed everything. Founders are doing the exact same things with content. Most people optimize for views, followers, likes, shares, reach, engagements. And listen, those things feel good. You get up a post that is blowing up, notifications start flying, numbers go crazy, and you start thinking, this is working. But then Friday comes, no qualified conversations, no inbound leads, no buyers, no pipeline, nothing changed except your dopamine. And that's dangerous because founders start confusing attention with traction. They are not the same thing. Attention says, people saw me. Traction say, people want to work with me. Completely different. Here is the reality. A founder with 1,000 followers, 20 profile visits, and 5 qualified conversations is usually in a better position than someone with millions of followers and random engagements. Why? Because buyers behave differently than the audiences. Followers consume, buyers investigate. They click on your profile, read your bio, watch your stories, look at your proof, read comments, study case studies, silently observing. You need to stop posting for attention and start building a machine. Because one piece of content generating 5 qualified conversations can outperform 500,000, 600,000 random views every single time. Because views don't build businesses, conversations do. And somewhere along the way, founders got tricked into thinking content was a popularity contest. It isn't. It is a client acquisition system. So stop asking, how do I get more people to watch? Start asking, how do I get the right person? Because the founders who win over the next decade won't be the loudest. They won't be the most viral. They'll be the ones who build trust at scale. And when that happens, content stops being content. It becomes leverage. It becomes a pipeline. It becomes reputation. And eventually, it becomes the salesperson working for you, even if you close your laptop. That is the game. By the way, I'm Gen Gacer. I'm a personal brand coach for founders. And for more than over 5 years now, I've had the opportunity to support business owners behind the scenes through delegated support, remote professionals, and systems that help founders get their time back. And after working closely with these founders, with so many founders, I noticed just one thing. Some of the smartest people with the best businesses were still struggling online. Not because they're not talented enough, not because they lack discipline, but because they had no clear system for building authority. They were posting randomly, inconsistently, overthinking content, unsure what to say, trying to build visibility while running a real actual business. So today, what I help founders do is to build clear personal brands using simple, repeatable systems that create long-term visibility without the burnout. If you feel stuck, posting inconsistently, unsure what to say next, or overwhelmed every time you open your content calendar, it's not because something is wrong with you, it's because you lack system. Click the link below and book a personal brand strategy call with me. We'll break down how to clarify your message, structure your content, and build a personal brand that actually works for your business. And if you're building something real, subscribe, stay connected, because we're learning, applying, and winning this game together. I'll see you in the next one.